Hi, I'm Starlet Baker, the Executive Director for Strongwater Farm, and we are here checking out behind the scenes when it comes to PATH International and accreditation process. And I could think of no better opportunity than Kitty here from PATH International, who did a site visit today with her and her counterpart Karen, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to dig into what it means to be a PATH International Center, maybe what some of the standards are and the accreditation process. I'm more so looking at it from your perspective, right? And then in a follow-up video, we'll look at it from internal perspective. And then I have one or two instructors in mind to kind of chat with about that process and our prep work. So anyway, Miss Kitty, thank you so much for coming out. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Connecticut.
Okay. Yep. So it was a little bit of drive, but not too bad?
Not too bad. No.
Right.
And I've been involved in PATH International for over 40 years.
Wow.
I started as a volunteer and worked my way through to become an executive director.
Awesome.
And from the time I was always initially involved, the woman who got me involved was very connected with both the center that I was involved in, which was Elsie Vera, now it's High Hopes Therapeutic Riding in Old Lyme, but also NARA, which was the previous to PATH International. Mm-hmm. So full circle, long time, been involved, but one of my greatest experiences is doing accreditation visits like this, being involved in accreditation. I've been on accreditation committees. I've been on the PATH International board when it was NARA. Okay. So for me to continue in a volunteer capacity, visiting centers all over the country, now virtually and also in person, is great, where we get to meet folks like you. And because I believe, and not just you, but your staff, see your center, learn how you do things, right? You know, so there's really some wonderful advantages to one being a site visitor.
Okay.
Accreditation, the PATH International accreditation process is a peer review process. Okay. The standards are based on input from our peers. Okay. And it evolved over time. It is a way to ensure, and it's a voluntary process. So it's a way to ensure for centers like Strongwater that where do we fit within our peers? Okay. It's a quality assurance that best practices, leading practices are in place, whether it's service standards, whether it's administrative standards, whether it's facility or equine care and management. So when we come out, you know, the whole thing about it is it's intended to be educational. And I know from you and talking to your team here that you did an amazing job of investing the entire team, involving them. It wasn't one person.
No,
you know, you
did not have all the
had
answers.
Everyone aware, including your volunteers and your participants and your board. And it's a great team building activity, honestly, where folks can actually have an increased awareness of what went into the process, but also what it takes to run the services in a way that ensures quality and safety. And that's really what it's about. So now going forward, you know, you'll hear from the accreditation committee and the results will be sent to you after our visit, but it's something that you will be able to have a mark of distinction that says, look, we did this hard work and we are in compliance, and here's what we did, and we can feel really good about that.
Yeah. So essentially holding to like a really high standard, right, when it comes to therapeutic services and stuff like that. And then there's different things, there's different events and stuff like that, or processes, or I don't know the word for it, but like the vaulting and like you can do specialties. Yes. Thank you. Lost for words for that one. So there's different specialties that you can be accredited in, right? So we at Strongwater, we didn't opt in to all the different specialties because, you know, we don't do a few of them, right? So explain maybe like what are the different areas that you can be accredited in?
Sure. When we come out and look at centers, all centers, we are looking at administrative standards. So that includes things like your insurance, your emergency procedures, your risk management plan, your credentialing of your professionals, all things that we look for, documentation as well. Then we move into the facility, and this would be for all centers. We're looking at the upkeep, the lights, the toilet facilities, the emergencies, the phones. We look at your equine first aid kit and your equine checks. Is it done on a monthly basis? We look at your human first aid kit. And then we move into the equine area, the care of the horses. What do the stalls look like? What do the paddocks look like? What's the fencing look like? The water? Is there a procedure to train your volunteers?
Right.
Is there a procedure, what's the paperwork for your participants? What's the training process? So it's a pretty detailed visit. We've been here today about 6 hours, right? And but your preparation, you as a center representative had a course, took a course. There should be no surprises. You know exactly what's going to be on and occur on the day of the visit. And you and I had lots of conversations as we got ready, so that I could help you be the best that you could be in the center. And there were no surprises. You actually selected the date, you selected the time, you came up with the schedule, and that's where it's, this is not a surprise visit. This is not a licensure. This is a voluntary process where you said, these are the things that I want to look at. Some centers actually choose to take a voluntary no in certain standards. So some of them are mandatory.
Okay.
You absolutely have to, things like current insurance,
right,
having liability forms, having working fire extinguishers. There are some that are voluntary, that are not mandatory rather, and you can get a certain percent of those non-mandatories wrong. So an example might be for a center that didn't have, say, their own facility. Maybe they go to the state fairgrounds once a week where they offer classes. They might not have a handicapped bathroom facility. They might have, I've been to handicapped porta potties that they might use, and that would qualify as a yes and fully accessible. But they also might say that that's not the audience that they're working with, and they don't feel like they have financially or the means to have an accessible toileting facility. So there are some things where you might choose to take a no. Okay. But for the most part, centers like to know well in advance that, and they do a self-study and they can decide whether it's good. They actually, and sometimes they might even invite a board member to come in to do a walkthrough and actually score just like on the day of the visit as like a mock visit. Yes. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, no. So I know for Strongwater, for us leading up to the preparation for it, we actually did invite a board member out at one point in time to kind of check us over. We decided that we weren't quite ready there yet and we didn't want to waste her time. But we did do a couple of internal walkthroughs and checks, and the team here is definitely very well versed in a lot of the standards and literally know some of it like literally verbatim, which was pretty awesome to see. Like me sitting in my seat and like seeing the team kind of grow and develop and come together and bond over this process, right? It's been pretty remarkable to watch. So that's a little bit about our prep work for this. And I'm grateful to you and just like your open communication, right? Your availability, like, hey, Kitty, like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have this question, like via text or whatever. And then the other part that I want to ask is, what about your preparation on your end? Like, how far out do you guys start working for some of these site visits? And like, what are the different things that you guys do leading up to the site visit? How involved is that process?
Well, and well before that, there is a visitor training.
Okay.
So if you're interested, and I invite people who are involved in the equine-assisted services industry on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to be an executive director, just if you've got that experience. We're always looking for visitors. Okay. And there is a pretty extensive training that invites us to leave your own personal stuff away. You are representing the National Association. You're representing the standards. So it's not about how I personally do things or my center has done things, or it's about what the standard says. The development of the standards are intended to be fairly universal and somewhat generic, because we have all kinds of centers. We are an international organization, so we have centers. There's a center in Zimbabwe that is a member center, and awesome. Someday they want to be able to go for accreditation. Yeah. So wherever they are, it needs to apply. For instance, turnout in New England and care of horses in terms of acreage, like your horses live out, many of them 24/7, whereas in rural Las Vegas or in urban Las Vegas, they're not living out 24/7, or if they do, it's not the same kind of turnout, right?
Right.
So there's got to be a lot of room. There are also centers, very small centers, as I mentioned, the type that might just go into a regular riding facility and do lessons there twice a week. So the standards are intended, written in a way that there is a broad statement of what is being asked for. Then there's an interpretation to help everybody understand what's being asked. And then there's a compliance demonstration, which often involves documentation and observation and interview. Those are the three ways. The visitors are trained in each standard and what that means. My commitment to being a visitor is that I will make sure I'm current on standards. So for instance, right now, we're using a standards manual from 2021. The standards haven't been revised. And typically they go through a whole peer review and member input in field testing. So there's quite a very long process in adjusting and adding new standards and then testing them out in our membership. In terms of preparation for an actual visit, I will get, there's a opportunity, I volunteer to do this. So,
awesome.
There's a call goes out from the national office that all of us are volunteers that says, we are looking for volunteers to do 100 visits this year. Here's the list. Let me know if you can do them. Some are virtual, some are in person, and you sign up for them. There are two of us always that come. There's two visitors. One might be an associate, or two visitors and one's in an associate role. And we do that on purpose so that it's not just one person making that decision, right?
After working through this today, right? Because we just went through our accreditation process today. After working through this, I can't imagine a single person doing that with every piece of information that we had to go through, and all of the eaches, all of the details, and everything else like that. That's a lot for one person.
It's a lot to observe, but it's also, if there was something where I might have had a personal opinion about, or an opinion about, and my associate had an opinion about, we have the opportunity to talk it through, and then come up with, there is one person is in a lead role. So if it came down to it, that would be the person. But we are also accountable to a committee.
Right.
So this result will then go to a committee. The committee will review it. If there was any issues, for instance, between the site and the visitor, there's opportunities for an appeal that gets reviewed. So there's a wonderful process there to ensure that both parties are represented fairly and equitably. But back to so the call goes out. Who can do these visits? Once you're assigned a visit, you're sent some initial paperwork. The visitor reaches out to the center representative and says, "I've been assigned. First and foremost, is it okay?"
I remember.
And
that
because it's up for the representative, they could say, "You might have known or heard something about me and said, oh, I don't want her." So you have the opportunity to actually decline a visitor. And then if it's all copacetic, then we get into when can we come for a visit? And then we go back and forth with the questions. My responsibility is to know what you offer. I have some information, but we do an initial interview, what we need to see. And that's an opportunity for you then as the center rep to say, what are you looking for? How's it look? What do I do? Some people, it's their first time through. Now that you've gone through personally, it is a renewed process. So every year you will sign off on the fact that you are still in compliance. If things change, both in personnel or activities, you will send in a notification to the PATH office. Typically, PATH does reserve the right to come out for a visit in the interim. But in 5 years, you'll be due for accreditation again, right?
Yep, every 5 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's, it does take some time. Some centers, if we get notification toward the end of summer, a lot of centers don't want to do anything in the fall. Maybe they have fundraisers.
Winter.
They don't want to do it in the winter. So that's why, I think you and I started talking 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah, back in September, actually, I think. Then I know that there was a backlog, right, for some of the site visits and stuff like that. We were trying to figure out if we were going to be a virtual or in person. I actually preferred the in person. I think I told you that, just because it was a lot of our first time, like each of the team members here, and a lot of professional growth and development for us. So I was like, if there's a way to get it in person, that would actually kind of benefit on many other different levels. Yeah, it's a little bit more like nerve-wracking, but at the same time, like it was more educational, I think, on our end, especially me as the executive director and living through this process now with the team, and then experiencing the process for the prep work and stuff like that. Like, I'm grateful for your communication. I'm grateful that you reached out and that we were able to communicate as much as we did, how easily accessible you were. And then I definitely appreciate the level of depth and understanding that PATH International really requires of you guys coming out to these centers, because if you guys are essentially assessing us and like, okay, well, you know, what kind of standards, what kind of background do you guys have to come out and validate what it is that we do? Do you understand the language? But you guys have that process to make sure you're coming out informed and educated and helping us, helping each of the centers out to really just be better, I think, across the board, to keep the standard up across the PATH International organization, because it's been such a premier organization itself out there. And I know it was important to the board way back when for us to be a PATH premier center. One of our previous board members, Dave War, like that was his vision, that was his goal. And then along with MJ, our founder, like that was kind of like the combined effort, the combined force that kind of came together to make this happen. So I know I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to your team. And then overall, just, you know, the communication, I think that's the biggest thing. And just you made it less scary than what I think I had in my head.
And it's never intended to be, it was always intended to be an educational process and not a scary process.
Nailed it.
But it's so hard, right? Anytime you've got a peer review, you've got a peer review process, whether it's certification or accreditation. But I'm very grateful to meet such dedicated team as yours. And I feel truly very fortunate that I've been able to do this through the years and meet so many wonderful people and also provide that educational piece to them, because it is, we don't really have any other benchmark in our field outside of individual certification, but centers, this is the gold standard. It is the benchmark, is accreditation. And while it's voluntary, accreditation is certainly something that you should be very proud of, and that you can put up on the wall, that you can use when you're writing for grants, when you're looking for collaborations. If there were any type of an injury, you know, you've got PATH International and the accreditation process behind you.
Yes. So on that point of the grant, right? So recently, a couple weeks ago, I went to a board meeting for an external organization asking for sponsorship. And they're like, you're a PATH center. I'm like, yes, sir, we are. Okay, well, how does that distinguish you from the other place? You know, I'm like, well, let me tell you about all these different standards and all these different policies and procedures. And that actually worked to our benefit to earn their level of respect, I think, because we come with such a name, right? And then especially with my endeavor to get our Strongwater story up and out, to say, yes, we just went through another accreditation and we came out the other end okay. You know, we're still alive, we're surviving, we're still here, we're still a PATH center. Like it's just overall, like it's a great story to tell. And I appreciate you and getting out here and then being willing to educate our audience and really us as a team on this entire process and really working with us.
Well, it's fabulous. And we love, you know, again, PATH International has always been near and dear to my own personal heart.
Yeah. And you've been doing this for 40 years? Sorry.
Yeah, I've been in the field for 40 years. And, you know, it's just wonderful to see such enthusiasm and such an endorsement, and to see the quality of services being delivered here at Strongwater, and the fact that you all are so dedicated to it. As you even think about expanding and launching into new programs, you know, you're looking for immediate compliance even before you start the program. So, you know, whether it's a specialty or your ongoing work. So congratulations in that endeavor, and the teamwork that I commend you on the ability that you have had to involve so many people in the process, because it is bigger than one person. It is. And that's how our centers are going to survive, right? You and I may not continue to be at one center for long or forever, and we need other people to be aware of and maintain that institutional knowledge. So
yes, ma'am.
Well done.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Well done.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
No, you're welcome to go to the PATH International website, learn more about PATH, learn more about the accreditation process, certification, and certainly one of my one of my roles is as the the Innovation Circles Program Manager, which is a PATH International program that helps centers of all sizes with things with basically nonprofit management, whether it's fundraising or board development or business practices. We're here for you to help you become sustainable and grow to a center like Strongwater.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
You are most welcome.
All right, audience, thank you for your interest. Thank you for your time. And this has been one heck of a day. Definitely appreciate everybody's support, actually. So leading up to this, I might have told you already, you could not imagine the amount of support that we had from clients, from families, from volunteers. How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? So this pristine property is largely because of their efforts, right?
It's a community.
It really is. You can't survive. It takes a village.
It does indeed.
It does. Yep. All right. So shout out to everybody who helped us prep for this visit. Thank you for your interest. Like I said, thank you for your time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.